We practice that apparently. I'll call the meeting of the Monona Finance and Personnel Committee for Monday, July 17th, 2017 to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Holmquist.
Here.
Acting Mayor Wood.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor is on vacation.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 19th meeting?
So moved.
I'll second that. Any changes?
Nope.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. There are no appearances. Unfinished business. We have potentially going into closed session regarding the developers agreement and payment to Highland Dental Ceramics. Do you want to go into closed session now or just wait until council? Bill's not going to be here for this for finance,
Okay.
so I think we can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm fine either way.
Okay, I think his preference was that we not go into closed session. Wait till finance. So
wait till.
Wait till council. Yeah.
Okay.
There's probably some updates coming to you this afternoon. So.
Okay. But then, so we'll skip 5A and B. 5C is consideration of Resolution 17-6-2190 approving a development agreement between the City of Monona and Yahara Riverfront LLC, YRFD Phase 1 Land Inc., YRFD Phase 2 Land Inc., and YRFD Phase 3 Land Inc., parent Galway companies. I think the idea would be just to move this on to council without a recommendation.
Yep. Given that we don't have the updates from the closed session, we'll move along.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
So moved.
Second discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. New business is consideration of Resolution 17-7-2194, a resolution to authorize payment to Highland Dental Ceramics. Sunny or April, you want to talk about this? If you can. It's really more of a bill thing, but.
Yeah, this would be up to you if you want to make a recommendation again or refer it to council. But if you would approve it, you would be authorizing a payment of $15,000 to reimburse Highland Dental Ceramics for moving expenses for their relocation out of the Chase Bank building at 802 West Broadway.
Okay. Hey guys, the screen out here says that we're in closed session and we're not.
Sorry, that's a glitch.
Okay. Again, I guess I'll defer to you, Brian. We can either approve it, deny it, or just move it on without a recommendation.
I mean, I think I would prefer to move it along, given that we don't have any of the other information. I wouldn't want to do either without having the additional information, so I'm okay moving it along to council.
Okay, treat that as a motion and I'll second it. Move it to council without recommendation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 6B is consideration of Resolution 17-7-2195, award of bid for Madison Metropolitan Sewer District Sewer Relocation Project. And again, either Sunny or April.
So this is the project that is for relocating the existing 60-inch sewer interceptor for MMSD that runs beneath the Chase Bank building. We are required to install a 63-inch pipe by MMSD, and the timeline for the project would be to start this September and go through December of this year, and that would happen ahead of all of the other redevelopment work for the Riverfront Project. Strand Associates was our engineer on the project, prepared the plans, and we reviewed those 3 times with MMSD before their commission approved them last Thursday, the 13th. We also had a bid opening on the 13th after MMSD approved it, and we received 3 bids. The expected probable cost from the engineer was 1.5 to 1.6 million, and the lowest bid came in from Speedway Sand and Gravel in the amount of 844,446, so much lower than the expected cost.
Although, if I could just interject, I think the engineer's estimate probably included the purchase of the sewer pipe, which is on
It
the
did.
agenda later, which also we got lower than we
Correct.
expected. So we're even adding those two together, we're quite a bit below what the engineer's estimate.
Yep, that's correct. We also included in the packet was the recommendation from Strand that we can accept Speedway. They're a qualified bidder, and their pre-qualification packet was submitted and acceptable.
So was there any, is there going to be engineering oversight costs?
Yes, we've already approved that as part of Strand's contract when we approved the services for MMSD design, and they'll be doing construction oversight and administration, and Public Works will sort of more be managing the day-to-day oversight of Strand for this project.
And the oversight was bigger than just the pipe because it's connected to all the other work that's going in the right away.
Strand will also be overseeing demo and the phase 1 infrastructure, and we'll know the interconnections.
Okay.
And Mark can.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Mark.
Yeah, just so you know how this is all going to be paid for. This and any other projects that can be related now to the Riverfront. We are going to borrow for this. There's no borrowing right now on it because we want to get all the project costs that we know that we're going to need here in the next month or two. Then we'll come back with a list of all the stuff that we basically approved and what we need for our borrowing. So there's really nothing, you know, how we're funding it is going to be from the borrowing, but right now we don't have that money. We got enough money to pay for it, some of these projects until we borrow it, which will probably be, really we're going to probably wait until we know the demolition cost. So just so you're aware of the funding, how this is going to be funded.
And will those be general obligation?
We'll probably split. They're probably going to be splits. We're not for sure yet how we want to do it. It could be a revenue bond for the sewer portion, but we could rub it into, or move it to a general obligation. So it's one or the two. But we'll have that information when we get everything. A lot of it comes down to the size of it, the general obligation. So we'll get better rates if it's a bigger size. If it's just smaller amounts, because this is sewer. So we could use revenue bonds. So Jeff and myself will kind of look into that.
And we don't have any problems of when you add all this stuff together, bumping up against our borrowing limits.
Currently, no. I mean, based on what we've had for projections, that we know the known projections we have for Riverfront, we will be will not affect. I mean, it goes into the debt limit, but it will not bump us up to it yet.
Yeah. So. And this one's going to be considerably below what we thought it would be.
Correct.
So.
And I think it's the first September meeting. We will have Jeff here from Hutchinson, Shockey, and Early, because we have so many new council members to kind of give everyone an update on TIF Financing 101, and we'll, I'm sure, talk extensively about the debt scenario because it affects so many of the projects that we have. So we've asked them to prepare some information on that.
Okay. Other questions?
Nope, I'm satisfied.
Then I would move approval.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next item is consideration of Resolution 17-7-2195, award of bid for Madison, 6C, consideration of Resolution 17-7-2199, approving an interceptor relocation agreement with Madison Metropolitan Sewer District. Sunny?
So again, this is for the sewer relocation project. We had been working with MMSD over the past couple of months, and they were agreeable to first relocating the 60-inch sewer that currently runs under the building, and also number two, to contribute funding towards it. So in this agreement, they are agreeing to contribute $250,000 which they would pay us upon completion of the project to their acceptance, as well as in-kind staff time that they estimated to be about $50,000, which they stated at their meeting on the 13th. The agreement includes easements, one along West Broadway, which is required because the pipe is on private property. It's in the right of way, but needs an easement onto private property in order to accommodate the trenching and excavation and soil stability for that pipe to be rerouted there. And then it also includes an easement that is also on private property for the same reasons up on the Building B Phase 2 site of the development. The rest of the interceptor will run down the new Metropolitan Lane roadway and will be in right-of-way and therefore doesn't require an easement. So those easement documents are attached as well as the exhibit. It also includes an easement release to abandon the sewer in its existing location, which will be filled with concrete and abandoned there. There was one condition that the MMSD Commission attached to their approval at their meeting on the 13th, and that was if there is sufficient increment left in the TIF district after we've paid off all of our other project costs, that we would reimburse MMSD for their $250,000 contribution. The MMSD attorney Dick Eady and Bill Cole were working through the language on that, and they agreed in concept. We think that we, of course, will still be able to pay all of our project costs before being required to pay them back. So we don't think it will negatively impact the TID. We also don't expect there to be any increment left over. And there was just some minor disagreement on the language between the two attorneys that, as of now, to my knowledge, has not been resolved. So I think this might be another one where we want to hear an update from Bill at council.
Okay.
I mean, that was my major question, was the piece around that last sticking point.
Right. And it's not in the agreement we have in front of us at all, is it?
Mm-mm.
Correct.
So even, because I know there was a couple of different language scenarios that they, like you said, they want us to say we'll pay it back out of TIF, and then they had added some more language to make sort of what we could, I don't know, restrict our discretion on TIF projects that Bill wasn't willing to accept. But then I suppose what we should do is just move it on without a recommendation at this point. I will move that we move it to council without a recommendation.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. 6E. It's the monthly financial report.
D.
Oh,
D.
see, that's why I'm marking them off and I mark things off before we actually do them, which would make the meeting go faster. Consideration of Resolution 17-7-2200, approving payment of $139,840 to Hobus Pipe USA to procure delivery of a 63-inch sewer pipe for the MMSD Southeast Interceptor Relocation Project.
This, of course, is also associated with the sewer relocation project. It's separated as its own item due to some timing requirements and a sequence of events that needs to happen in a certain order, which is we expect to convey the Phase 1 parcel to the developer on December 1st. But before we can convey it, the site needs to be cleared and buildings demolished. But before we can demolish those buildings, which we'll start doing in October and November, we need to relocate the sewer pipe. So there was a back order that of about 6 weeks in lead time where we would need to order the pipe ahead of time. So we needed to get this ordered right away so that it can be on site by September 1st when we expect the MMSD work to begin. So rather than wait for the contractor Speedway that we just reviewed in the bid award to order it themselves, we went directly to the manufacturer Hobas in Texas and therefore we also didn't get any markup cost on the pipe. So the expected cost for this was $250,000, and the quote that they are going to honor for us is $140,840. And it will be a pipe about as wide as I am tall, 63 inches, delivered on 16 trucks from Texas.
63 trucks.
16 trucks.
16 trucks.
16
inch.
trucks.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, just paying mileage for 16 trucks from Texas here and back
Crazy.
seems like it's
Can't
almost
be
the
good
cost.
for gas mileage.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. So I'm not sure if we need to make a slight adjustment for the dollar figure. It's different than what you quoted is different than what's in the packet.
It is 139,840.
Oh, okay.
I rounded up.
Okay.
I shouldn't have.
Yep. But that sounds great and makes perfect sense. So move approval.
I'll second. The only thing I would add is I'd like to know when it's coming. I think
I
it'd
want
be
to see that.
quite a parade.
Mhm.
Might not want to be in the traffic behind it, but
Yeah, we'll let you know.
further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny. Okay, now 6E, the monthly financial report. Mark?
Yeah. I've kind of went in detail the last couple times, but just kind of wanted first just kind of brought this up at the department head meeting this morning. In total, department heads are doing good. Most of the stuff is right on schedule where they should be. We do have some individual line items, that are higher and some are lower. So they try to make it up somewhere else. But, the biggest issue, expenditure-wise, is going to be the kind of the unknown one, which is kind of the maintenance repairs, equipment repairs, building repairs. It seems like that's the big one this year. Other than that, there's really nothing out of the ordinary. So in general, most of them are right on target where they should be at this time. The concerns they do have, what you mentioned in the department meeting, is things that we don't have we don't have a lot of control over. Building permits, permits, electrical, plumbing, HVAC. Right now, they're roughly about 30% of collections. It's where they should be roughly around 50%. So that could be an issue. If we do get the Riverfront goes through this year and they start pulling their permits, that should make up some of that difference. So that is one concern, the revenues. The thing that will help.
Before you leave the permits, will the demolition project require a permit?
We'll have to pull a permit for ourselves.
I
Oh,
believe
for
so.
ourselves?
Yeah.
Okay, so the contractor doesn't pull it, we do? Or
Well,
we-
he'll pull it, but we'll pay the
We pull it,
contractor.
okay.
So
So any of the public works projects
Right.
down there, we're gonna pay, so,
until he actually starts doing his, till the developer starts doing his stuff, yeah, that's when they'll kind of pull those. So I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, it's scheduled, so.
We don't convey the property until December, so likely
Right.
permits wouldn't be pulled in
Right, so they probably won't be
2017.
pulled, so that's probably not going to. The one thing that's going to help offset that is our interest income is already at 100%, so that should offset some of that. So instead of having a little bit of surplus for that, we'll actually probably cover maybe somewhere that difference. So that is one good thing there to offset it. So there will be something to offset it. So
Mark, we did get a little higher rate this year, didn't we? Is that why that's up a little bit?
that
it
is
wasn't a ton,
that's part of it. A lot of it too is the rates are going up, and they did kind of. At one time they were down to 0.02, and now they're down to 0.08 or something to that effect. So that's part of it. We did get a little, higher basis points too. Other than that, the other concerns we talked about is franchise fees. We do have two franchise fees. We have charter and AT&T Uverse. the franchise fees for charter are pretty much online to what they were the previous years, the averages, and the years before that. AT&T is, we've got the first quarter in, and that was about down 2,000 from our average the year before. So I noticed a pattern starting to come down. So that is one we're going to have to look at, especially for next year's budget. It's going to be probably a concern, losing some of that revenue. So I guess that's some of the bad news. Otherwise, I mean, I don't know how detailed you want me to go into. The financials actually are looking pretty good. The people are right on where they're supposed to be budget-wise and where they're tracking. So,
Right.
Page, one of the things
And Mark, you might go through, but I have just
Yeah,
sticky notes on certain lines.
It'd probably be better to go that way.
Some of them have to do with your comments, and
Sure.
this is the follow-up questions, but you might be able to help. So I'm not sure if this is 55 or 11 in your packet,
Okay.
but it's underneath the forestry section.
Oh, is that the insurance one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right now. We'll have to allocate that at the end of the year. So all the public works, for some reason this year, is being allocated the health insurance to this account. So I'm tracking it, and once I get end of the year, I'll allocate it out to all the other proper accounts. So if you'll notice, like street maintenance, health insurance is down, and shop is down. It's because of all that's put into this one account. So in total, it's fine. It's just right now it's in the wrong account, and I'll allocate that out.
Okay. And then the next one I had was on page 60.
Okay.
And it had to do with, you indicated not okay, and it really was the combination of the library salaries and the part-time. I'm wondering about the combo and
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
concern.
It's supposed to be an E. It's supposed to be net okay.
net.
Net.
All right.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
what I
But
said too, is not.
Yeah, that's my fault. But we're going to look at this to make sure, at the end of the year, to make sure we get everybody categories the way, with Ryan, where they should be. But in total, they're going to net okay.
Okay.
I ran some numbers, they'll be fine.
The next one I had was PD out of cable.
Okay.
So it looks like, and no, I can't move my sticky dot. I'm not sure if these are planned overages in PD.
What page
Which
are you
page
looking
is
at?
I'm sorry. This is page 62.
Okay.
Or,
A professional development?
Yep.
Yeah, that one I guess I have to look into more. I know with the radio stuff and different things, there's probably been a little bit more than we expected, but I can get a detail of what that is.
Yeah, I'd have to see that too.
Which one were you concerned about?
It's the
Professional
the
development.
CCVA professional development.
Okay.
So it seemed like that's a line item in a variety of departments. Some have either capped out or
Right.
gone over, and then other departments I know underutilize their
Underuse it.
PD.
Yeah.
And
And I don't know, I have to talk, I'll get it from Will, I'll get it from Will, because I meet with him actually tomorrow. I don't know if his include, probably didn't take in some other stuff they're doing with some of their volunteers, if there's some issues there, so I'll
Sure.
double check on that, if there's more with the radio, what the difference is.
And I've encouraged some of those underusing departments to, go ahead and, you have permission to use it, you got to keep up your skills. So
yeah.
I know at least a few of them have done some conferences and training this year, so.
Right. And I mean, it's worth reminding the council too that we can
Oh, yeah.
do seminars or whatever
Mhm.
and get reimbursed, or the city can pay it directly. But I think that
Yep.
line, there's not a whole lot of money in it, but we're about 35% or something like that so far. So
Yes.
On page, I think it's 64. Now I can't even read my own right. 64. So this had to do with the general question that you talked about earlier. It had to do with the building maintenance and repair.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
seems like in a variety of departments, it's a line item that's just getting killed. And either the question that I have is, did we not anticipate, or were we really off the mark on this many projects?
Yeah, There was a big thing in this one. I can't remember offhand what it is.
Is that reflecting that plumbing repair yet, or did that not come through?
No, I think it might be. I'm not for sure. I have to look it up.
There's
I
a
know
plumbing repair in here as well, yes.
There's a
Yeah,
large,
there was a
thing
large
at the
one.
community center. I can't remember what it was. So I think that one for sure was unexpected. I know we talked about today trying to really look into this for this year's budget and get those kind of hashed out. If it's, you know, I know we talked about the last meeting, kind of
Right.
looking as a whole. But it is one of those things I think we are going to start really looking to pretty hard this budget year. Department heads with their own budgets and figure out some of those issues. If it, like you said, if we just missed some, we're not budgeting right. If it was truly a really unexpected item.
And given how much we're over in some of these, I'm not sure if we're needing to have that conversation of where do we need to come up with those funds.
Right,
and
that's going to be an issue. Right?
prioritize other stuff.
Yeah.
And part of the conversation is, are there some systems that just need overhauling, like, you know, part of the HVAC here? Because I know that one I have looked at the 5-year history, and it is, you know, it is very high because they've had a lot of unplanned repairs that they had to do because they didn't upgrade the old building system when they built the new addition.
Right, so that's, and I went to the staff meeting today. We talked about that a little bit there in the last meeting of, you know, going back, say, 5-year history of what the total maintenance costs have been across the entire city, and perhaps do a separate, or somehow do a separate line for all that, and see if, you know, because I think it's hard for individual departments to predict. As Mayor Bob used to say, don't budget or plan, you know, for a broken leg, but across the city, I mean, the library might not plan for one, but maybe the city ought to, you know, so that we have, you know, anticipating that this stuff is going to happen, and when it does, they are, you know, $5,000 repairs are not uncommon.
Has there ever been consideration of many of these repairs are really more closely aligned to capital improvement?
Yes, exactly.
Rather than taking away from operational dollars?
I think the one in here was probably closer to a capital one, but I think the other ones are normal, like $1,000 here, you know, $500, $700 a year.
Truly maintenance costs rather than...
I mean, I think they're more, I mean, they're definitely repairs and maintenance, but they're not large. Like, I know, I wish I remember what it was that happened there. It was a $4,000 or $5,000 expenditure by itself. But mainly, these are, a lot of them are, you know, high hundreds, but they're like $7,000 to $1,000. They're not like 6,000 here, 5,000 there. So they're still, they're expensive. I mean, they're pricey, but they're not the big ones.
Sure.
But they happen all the time. That's the problem. I think you'll notice we're looking at is it's a lot of the same buildings. It's the older buildings. So it's the community center, and it's kind of this building. City Hall's not really bad. You don't really have as many comparatively size-wise as you do here. But it is the community center and this one, I think, are probably two bigger ones where they, and the parks. It seems like the parks is, a lot of that, I think, is stuff that gets destroyed too from wear and tear and there. Those are probably the three biggest usage. So some of those are mainly, a lot of times they're just fixing stuff from the usage on those for the parks. But I think one of the water softeners, maybe it's the water softener went out too, and the pipes broke. I know it was something, a major thing.
It was pretty big.
But it's definitely those three buildings more than is like the City Hall and the Public Works building. So I know we put a lot of work into the City Hall building. So, you know, we've got the new windows, we've got the new roof. You know, they did some work to the HVAC. So there's work been done on those. I think these buildings really hasn't been much for updating, other than when they built the building, the second phase. So.
But we do, we are hoping near the end of the month to have some good figures for some lighting upgrades and some HVAC upgrades. So that has been in progress for a couple months, but it's, you know, also looking at grants as offsets and so forth. So that's one particular item we're taking a hard look at this year.
We just did the lighting upgrade at City Hall with us when we got the big grant not too long ago. So I imagine you're talking about these two buildings.
Well, they looked at, I think, the fire department bays and public works and, some of the other facilities where we might be able to save some funding, through grants and energy savings.
But it seems like the biggest issue if you're over there, it's the HVACs in places.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Seems like even the city hall buildings, it seems like the HVACs, if you looked at narrow down to one major one, the HVACs would be the first. And then a lot of stuff is more just the wear and tears on the buildings.
Yeah, I mean, this building has a storied history with its HVAC. Not a good story.
An expensive story, I'm
Right.
sure.
Ryan, the library director, mentioned at the staff meeting that he got some numbers back that he said were interesting, but he didn't say.
He didn't say, but that usually means
how.
high.
I think, I think that was he looking at a total replacement or a major? It was.
I mean, it's a major, it was a major, I think they looked to a major rehaul of the HVAC, so.
You may have noticed they say there's kind of a wall of humidity when you pass from the old to the new section. I did kind of notice it the last time I was here, and it was a hot day, and you can almost feel that difference when you're passing from one wing to the other. So it's just very out of balance.
Right. Okay.
On page, I think it's 67.
Sure.
You mentioned on here that the fund balance from the ambulance fee is not needed.
Well, I would just guess it's not. I was going to mention that too.
Because that was going to go to paid on premise, right?
Yeah, if you go back to page, I was going to talk about that. It was page 52. If you kind of look at the page 52 in the fire protection budget, we're not going to hit that mark. We're going to need the $35,000 to be transferred. So that's my guess. If you go to paid on premise, we're at $4,500 June through May, or let's see, January through May. So you're almost 6 months in, and you're barely going to get $10,000 from that, and you're not, and you're same with the 6 months in for paid on call, and we're going to get $40,000 maybe there. So you're going to be under the amount we need to transfer. So that was the reason for that.
And that was, if I just interject, I mean, that was sort of expected because of when we had talked to the chief early this year,
Yeah,
was it?
May maybe or something like that? Or
Way before, when we,
before his presentation?
yeah, when we were sort of saying, let's make sure that what happened last year doesn't
Right,
happen.
okay, yeah. That was,
I guess maybe it started the discussion during the budget, I think.
yes, that's when it happened.
So it was kind of expected that, by the way he managed the program and made some changes. Like if they get calls on training nights, not everybody goes out and gets the extra, I think it's 15 for that and so forth. So I'm glad to hear it, but fund balance isn't going to be needed, and it's working out the way the chief had indicated.
Right. So that, that's my reason for putting it there, just based on projections we're seeing. It could change, it could be all of a sudden, but based on what the current trend is.
On page 78, is there any supplies and expenses, I think this is what you were indicating. PSN charge, I think that's Monday or monthly?
Monthly. So we got the new PSN, which is our payment system service network. So you can pay online. We do get charged a fee, so that's where I put that. That's where I'm dumping the fee into.
So if we're already at 122%,
Yeah, we're going to be over.
Is this going to be a concern?
Some of this is billed order. I think we're probably going to be, probably in the end, about $500 over. I think we'll make it up in another account,
Yeah.
$500 to $700. So it's seemed like it's been a hit so far. I know there's some fees, but we have seen a lot of people going to the PSN, and you can, get paperless bills. We have seen people are going to the paperless route. You can, do it 3 different ways too. You can, or one option you can pay. Some people like to pay prorated amount, so they pay $50 every month instead of doing it 1 quarter. You can set it up that way too, or you can pay it out in a quarter. So definitely, people are looking at it and taking advantage of it, especially pay by check or directly from the bank account. It's basically free. I think I can remember if there's $1 fee or something like that, so.
And the customer is paying the fee, not, the city's not eating it.
Yeah, but they charge us to use it. I mean, there's a fee to us for having the system.
On top of what the customer's paying?
Well, they charge us.
That's what that PSN.
PSN charges us a fee too. So.
They think they're a bank? I guess they kind of are.
Well, they're just charges us to have the webs,
It seems like it's low cost given
yeah.
Yeah.
the overhead.
Yeah.
And some of these questions are too mundane. Some of it's to help me kind of
No, that's
make sure I
fine. These are
understand what
good
some of these
questions.
are. On page 89, I was just curious what the water management agreement is for almost $4,000.
Page 89.
Cool.
This is in
They're
checks.
gonna check.
Oh,
Oh,
correct.
let's finish the
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, wait.
next.
Yep.
Good rest. Mark, did you have anything else?
No, not for that. That's more questions.
Okay, I don't think I do either, so do we need to do anything except the monthly report, or we just, I don't remember what we did last time.
I think it's just a report. I mean, you can
yeah.
certainly move to accept it if you choose, but
No.
it's just a report, so no action,
Okay.
I would say.
All right, then let's move on to item 7, acceptance of general fund accounts payable checks dated June 16th to July 13th, 2017. Documentation of the invoices paid is available in the city clerk's office.
Yeah, if you want to go to that page 89, the aquatics. So this is the water management. So we have an agreement. I think it's probably a 5-year. I think was bid about 5 years ago. So it's maybe something you need to look at in the parks if you want to rebid this. So they provide the chemicals. They do all the. So they come. It's basically chemicals they do, and they monitor that, and there was an agreement we had with them. So it was a bid about 5 years. I think it was about 5 years ago. So this is the bid amount. So it's over. I think they paid 3/4. So I think it's like this number. It's like I think it's 3 times we paid. So.
And so Carico does that work, handling the chemicals and so forth, monitoring them instead of city staff,
Correct.
which is what we used to do.
Yeah,
We
they
don't,
purchase the chemical. I mean, so they purchase it. So we don't purchase the chemicals. They have all that chemicals. They bring here. And they do all that work.
we don't store the chemicals anymore?
They do store some, but when they do the maintenance and updates, they do all of that. So there is some chemicals I think stored on site from them, but we don't purchase them.
Okay.
If I remember, when we switched over to this, it had to do with not only the personnel, but the training and ongoing training of making sure that we have adequate staff trained, and then the chemical storage and use. And
Yeah.
it seemed like a
Time was no
decent cost,
Yeah.
given all those complicated factors.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's something they want to look at eventually, rebid it, but I know that's probably about 5 years.
So then I had a question on, just curious, that jumped out at me. This was on page 90.
Okay.
And this had to do with a payment for swimming and pool concessions for, close to $1,300 to
Yeah.
the city of Madison.
You know how that works?
It's a license that's required by the city of by the
Dane County.
Dane County, and it's paid to the city of Madison treasurer for
That's
food
a-
service. It's to allow food service.
It's a
to
public
happen.
health.
I think it's,
Okay.
yeah, I was going to say, I
Right.
think it's public health.
Dane
That
County
makes a lot more
Public Health,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, and apparently Madison must
Collect.
manage it, or at least they
Collect it,
manage the
yeah.
money into it for them.
I'm sure they get a fee out of it.
Yeah.
Can we imagine?
Yeah.
And then on page 91,
Yeah.
Earthlink business. So this might just be a follow-up from the previous discussion about web hosting. So the previous one had to do with, I don't know if it was FatCow or another web hosting. This is another web hosting company? I'm just
No,
curious.
this is more. This
Telephone.
is telephone.
Telephone.
This is a telephone system. So this is our telephone fax, and a lot of that goes through there.
I think it's the long distance specifically.
Yeah, so we had like 3 or 4 years ago, we had a company come in here and they reviewed all this, and this is Earthlink that they figured out different costs for everything we're using, what they did basically an audit of it.
Yep.
We're going. You're talking about more like the GoDaddy.
It was
stuff.
GoDaddy.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Mhm.
And we actually talked about that too. So everybody is on our. Maybe you can explain a little bit better how this goes.
Sure. Basically, the GoDaddy registers the domain name for our website. So if I understand correctly, so for like the police and fire, you know, when they look for those for that web page, it does point right to our site. So it's the registration of all those names and those directions pointing to our particular website. So it's not the hosting or the production of it, that's Civic Plus, but so it's just the domain name registration.
So it was where they purchased the domain name and the pointing and rerouting, but we're hosting them all. And
Yes.
Uniform, perfect.
They all agreed it was hosted on ours.
Because I think if you don't pay it, then it goes
then
back
you might
out in the
lose it.
public and somebody else can grab the name.
And we
So
buy it and sell it back to you.
yeah, you don't want that to happen. So that's what that is.
And we're due for an upgrade, is that right?
A refresh, I guess, is what I
refresh, yeah.
would call it. Yep, of our website starting. Well, it was supposed to start last month, so anytime.
Well, every 48 months you can refresh the website, so it's something
Yeah.
we're going to have a committee kind of look into it.
I'm
So.
curious, did we have to, or did they already have as part of the refresh, make our site ADA accessible?
You know, one of the UCY classes actually did look in depth at our website. There was like a 300-page report produced, so I'm kind of waiting for the abbreviated version of that, which now that I'm saying it, and of course Sonny's not in the room, it was sent to the printer, I believe, like last week or two, so waiting to see that report. So there should be a bunch of recommendations, but that might have been one of the things that they took a look for. So, but that is a good question. I'll make a note of that.
It's a little time consuming, but after you get in the rhythm of it, it works fairly well.
While you're on that same page, you see Dell, so that's your
Yep.
council laptop.
Mhm.
Okay. On let's see, page 96.
Okay.
So it looks like we have special event storage. Is this a year-long cost?
I'm sorry.
It's the Monona.
Monona
self-storage.
special,
Self-storage?
yes. So we have a storage unit that we use, that we pay for. That Jake pays for, yes. It's his department.
So I'm curious that we built the new Public Works garage in addition to the old garage for storage to get things out of the elements. I'm not sure how much we have in this storage and how much, if before all of these items were out in the elements and the justification was to get them out of the elements, but we had them underneath a makeshift old park shelter before. I'm not sure if there's...
It's a good question. It's more
Yeah.
like for the fall festival and things like that. So whatever they use is kept in storage in there. So it's a good question. I imagine Dan and Jake probably should look into if there's enough room for that or give us a report back one way or the other why.
I'll put
But I
that on the
understand
list.
You're saying we should use it like we just built the cold storage shed.
I have a feeling that's more used for the vehicles and that kind of
Yes.
equipment rather than,
But if there's enough,
I'm just not sure
Yeah.
if there's...
if there's enough room for it.
And, I'm not sure how frequent this cost is.
that would be one of my questions because I've got some stuff there. And
I believe that's a 1-year rental.
No, I think it's like six. I think it's
6
6 months.
rental.
Something
Yeah,
like that.
6 months sounds
6 months.
more like it.
Yeah.
It's a
I know
standard
it's not a-
unit.
I know it's
I
not
can
a-
tell you 10 by 20 is 150, I
so
think.
it'd be
So.
cheap.
Yeah, can't we just use your storage?
Yeah,
that's something you
yeah,
have-
I made room in it.
It'll work probably if you could have those two look into that.
Yeah, we should have had Jake here tonight, I guess.
Oh,
But yeah,
well-
I'll add that to the list to look into.
On page 99, the U.S. Cellular cell phones,
Yep.
there seems to be great variability between all of these, and I'm not sure if this is a single month or if this is a year.
This looks like it's a single month is usually about $1,400 usually. So I think I don't know for sure, but I believe there's probably some new updates with somebody's phone. lot of it looks like it's the six, if you go to the second, $886 is, that's a water utility, so majority of that is probably if somebody bought a new phone. I know they have some, they use that with their, what's it, SCADA system.
Yep.
So I think they, I know they had problems before with the phones, so I think maybe they updated to a newer, either iPhone or something like that that works better. I know they were dropping calls. So I know there were some upgrades they just did with that. I think they got 2 new ones. So I believe that's what the reason why there's such a increase, because it's usually between $1,200 to $1,400 is usually the average monthly bill. But I know
Did
there's
you check
Yeah.
with, I guess, Dan on that one?
yeah, I know it has to do with something with the SCADA and the water utilities phones.
I thought the idea with the SCADA was being able to access from Wi-Fi from afar, not using the cellular signal for that.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure if these are monthly charges or if these are fixed costs to hardware costs.
I think it's like a one-time fee for some of the new equipment they bought for
Okay.
Doesn't Leah prepare a detail sheet on these costs too, I believe?
No, I do.
You do that? One of
do.
you, I thought I've
I
seen
believe
that
this is
before.
I think it's a one-time equipment charge for a new phone or something.
And I only think I have one more, and that was a question about what is Lift Off LLC?
What page is that?
Yeah,
116.
116?
Do you know what that is?
it's not ringing a bell.
160. That is-
Office license for council? I'm just not.
Oh, that's, I think for the software for these,
Yes. the
Microsoft
software for the-
Okay.
For the,
it's
these iPads.
Oh,
or-
off, I get it.
Office, Microsoft
Microsoft
Office.
Yeah.
That makes sense, though.
Sometimes those computer companies have strange names. That's why it didn't ring a bell.
Yeah, yeah. Those are all the questions I had.
Okay.
Mark, did you have anything else that you wanted to highlight?
No, I didn't. The only thing I know there was a lot of capital purchases in here that started. One thing I just wanted to show you was, the engineering is probably, they're doing a lot of work for us. It was Strand at 110, that goes to 111. Other than that, I think he pretty much hit on a lot of the stuff that I probably would have talked about. So that's all I have.
All right. Then is there a motion to accept the general fund accounts payable checks?
So moved.
I will second that. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is adopted. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.